Okay guys, welcome to a short tutorial on Scratch version 3. Let's talk about what we see on the screen. So first of all, over here on the left, we've got what's known as the blocks palette. These 9 buttons give you access to a bunch of different types of commands. You can click on each button individually to get to those sets of commands, or you can just use the scroll wheel on your mouse to go between them. So either way. Next, we have over here the coding area, and this is where you will do your coding. This is where you will snap blocks together to give your little sprite commands. For instance, here's a move 10 steps on block. If I click on that, you'll see him move 10 steps. They're very small steps, so he didn't look like he moved a whole lot, but he did. He did move. You can snap blocks together down here or in this area. What you need to do is just drag out the block and then drag it up to the block that you want to attach it to and let go, and it will snap together. Now you can snap a whole bunch of different types of blocks together. And you can move them all if necessary, or you can separate them. The way you separate them is by clicking on the one below that you want to isolate. So let's say, for instance, I want to isolate the move 10 blocks. I click on the one below it, and that kind of separates them. Let's say I want to isolate the turn 15 degrees. Same thing. If I click on the one below it, I can get rid of the ones below it, and then click on that one, and then now I have access to it. So that's those are code blocks. So to get rid of these, you can right click on them and click delete block, or you can just drag them back onto the blocks palette. All right. Next, we've got costumes. If you click on this tab up here, you'll notice that we get a costumes menu. Now, costumes, some sprites have costumes, not all of them do, and what that is a second sprite that's coupled with it, that when you have them act together, it can look like the sprite is actually moving. You can create an illusion that it's moving. Okay. All right. And then we have a sounds tab where we can create sounds, import sounds, just add sounds to our project. Okay. Over here is the stage. This displays our creation. This displays our program. So we do the coding here, and it actually plays out over here. Over here is a sprite list. Notice there's only one sprite currently, but if there were more than one, you'd see them all listed right here. What I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but we can add another sprite. This button down here, little cat's head, if you just hover your mouse pointer over it, this menu will pop out. I think if you click on it, it'll bring up a menu, where you can choose from a library of different sprites that are available, and they have different categories as well. So if you click choose a sprite, that brings up the library. If you click paint, that allows you to draw your own. If you click surprise, it just randomly grabs one for you out of the library. And if you click upload sprite, you can actually create your own sprites like in Photoshop or something like that, and then upload it and then use them. Let's just grab another sprite, random one. I don't know, I'll do a beetle. And now we've got 2 different sprites in here. All right. Let's talk a little bit about this sprite information area. This is pretty useful. Now, you can name your sprite. Currently, this sprite is named Beetle. It's giving, because I have Beetle selected, see how it's got a blue square around it, or it's highlighted. That means that it's selected, and I'm seeing the information from that sprite. If I wanted to click on a different sprite, you'll notice that it gives us the information for that sprite. So currently this sprite is named Sprite 1. If we want to change the name, we can change it. I'll just call it Scratchy, which is what this little cat that is the sort of mascot of Scratch is called. And it tells us some different information. it tells us where it's located on our area of on our stage. It tells us where it's located. It tells us, and notice it tells us that in reference to the X and Y axis. Now, our first project that we're going to do soon, we'll explain that more. But just suffice to say that X is where it's at in terms of left and right, and Y is where it's at, turns in up and down. So watch. If I click on Scratchy and I move him over to the right and I let go, did you notice that this X number changed? I'll do it again. It changed. So that X controls left to right motion on the stage. Y controls up and down motion. So if I drag this up and let it go, watch now it says 124. If I drag it down, let go, now it says negative 113. Okay, so that's the coordinates of the sprite, and that's useful because later on, when you're doing some coding and you're telling a sprite to go to a certain spot, it's good to have that information right at your fingertips, and that's right there. You can either show or hide the sprite. See, currently I'm hiding the Scratchy sprite. Now I'm showing it. You can change the size of it. So currently this is 100%. If I change it to 200, hit enter. Now he's twice as big. And I can go smaller as well. Now he's a lot smaller. That's useful. All right, and then lastly, the direction that he's facing. Currently, he's facing 90 degrees. Let's click on this, okay? Now, 90 degrees is to the right, okay? If I want him to point up, I can drag that up, and now he's facing, kind of hard to drag it to get exactly if you want. You can just type what you want right here, okay? So up is 0, okay? To the left is negative 90. And to the right, underneath, below is 180, okay? So those are sort of our points. Now, do you see how when I moved it, I changed Scratchy's orientation, okay? Well, if you want to, you can change it so that he only faces left and right, okay? You can say, do not rotate, Scratchy. And notice he's not rotating anymore. Okay, what that can be used for is when you want a sprite to go up, you can point in the direction you want it to go, but you may not necessarily want him to face up when he goes up because that can look a little weird. You'll see as we get working on this. So this is important. This is Scratchy's orientation. Okay, so in most of these projects, we're going to have Scratchy face mostly just left and right. So that's useful to know about that. Now next, let's talk a little bit about the background or the stage. So you've got a similar set of buttons right here for backdrop. Notice if I highlight them both. So it's really the same options. You can choose one from the library, draw one, have a random one, or upload one. So if I'm going to choose one from the library, notice I've got some different categories to choose from. This one is on all, but I can choose fantasy, sports, indoor, space, underwater, whatever you want. You can even, as I mentioned, upload them. So if there's a certain background that you want to have, you can do that. You can upload them. So I'll choose the woods. Okay, so now Scratchy and the Beetle are in the woods. So that's it for a basic orientation. As we complete the tutorials going forward, you'll get to know these commands and these tabs a little better by using them.